Thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Lars de Nul. I work at the European Commission at the Directorate General for Research and Innovation. And there I am the deputy head of a unit called Industry 5.0 and AI in Science. And I'm going to talk to you today not about AI, but about Industry 5.0. And the idea of Industry 5.0 as a North Star for European industry, a sort of long-term target that European industry can orient itself to. Bit maybe about me and my background and the unit specific function. Our unit in DG Research Innovation has been established as a sort of forward-looking unit. And it was one of the first units dealing with research specifically and AI, so that combination of digital research and AI in the Commission. And another aspect of that is the industrial framework that we have in Europe. And we also wanted to develop some sort of long-term views on that. And as you will find out today in my presentation, this is really what the Industry 5.0 concept is about. Ursula von der Leyen said in her political guidelines in July 2024 that we need a new plan for Europe's sustainable prosperity and competitiveness. And there's something very important about sustainable prosperity. Prosperity, I think we all have an idea of what that means. That means welfare, in our case of our European countries. Prosperity means well-being also of the citizens, that people feel okay, that they have sufficient means to sustain themselves. But in order to make that sustainable, you have to do it in a certain way. You can't just take the easy way and cut corners and at one point run out of resources to sustain your prosperity. So we need a plan for Europe's sustainable prosperity, and with that, competitiveness. It's very important for Europe, of course, to be competitive in a global context. We very recently had a number of reports being issued, also mandated by the European Commission in some cases, on Europe's competitiveness, and that competitiveness is somewhat declining compared to some other parts of the world, notably the United States and China, as was also highlighted in the report of Mr. Draghi. And we have to work on that. And the European Commission, of course, is thinking very hard what actions and what things need to be undertaken to make sure that we can remain competitive. And that competitiveness has to be situated within that sustainable prosperity. So the challenge is really quite complicated. How can we be sustainable, be prosperous, and then competitive on the other side? As I just said, sustainable also means not cutting corners, not just taking the most easy way of doing things or of producing things in industry, but you still need to be competitive. So that means that you still have to be able to sell products, services, etc., at a price that is competitive with other parts of the world. That's a challenge in its own right. We don't claim to have all of the answers and all of the details worked out on that in the DG for Research and Innovation, but we do think that it's very important to have a sort of longer term vision to orient yourself to know what exactly does sustainable prosperity in a competitive way. What could that look like in a couple of decades' time in the longer term? What kind of industrial fabric in Europe are we trying to get at if that is indeed our plan? In recent decades and years, we've had a remarkable surge in technological advancements that have catalyzed in many different ways transformative shifts across various industries, of course, across society as a whole, and also in various industries due to technological advancements. And then I would think primarily of digital innovations, and then most recently, of course, the continued and the increasing emergence of artificial intelligence as a transformative technology. But the ongoing twin transition, and with the twin transition, it's sort of Euro speak for when we talk about the green transitions on the one hand, so this striving to sustainability on the one hand, and the digital transition on the other, the combination of those two, we call it the twin transition. That transition points to significant challenges as to the rapid implementation of advanced technologies in industry, as well as uncertainties with regards to technological trajectories and the effects on workers and society at large, global competitiveness, as I've already mentioned, technological sovereignty, which is something that we used to indicate that in Europe we need to have a degree of technological independence that is appropriate. We need to be able to produce and use and rely on our own technologies rather than just importing them to a suitable degree. And then also climate change pressures. So this interlinkage between new technologies indicating transformation, taking us on a road to change, it intersects with all of these societal challenges that we have and also industrial challenges that we have. And there has to be a comprehensive coming together of all of these aspects in a singular vision. This is where Industry 5.0 comes in. And to be very short, I can already tell you Industry 5.0 is built upon three essential pillars. Three pillars you see there on the slide. The first is human centricity, the second is sustainability, and the third is resilience. So in order to fight or to tackle the emerging challenges of the twin transition and to make sure that we harness the technology's real potential for driving industrial leadership, prosperity, and sustainable competitiveness. So to make sure that we use those technologies for societal and industrial interests, as well as enhance industry's positive societal and environmental impact, a new system thinking approach in industry is needed. So with that system thinking, we refer to the holistic idea of bringing all of these strands together and marrying them with technological change and technological transformations. Industry 5.0 presents in that regard a transformative vision for promoting a human-centric approach for industry while incorporating systematic aspects of competitiveness, resilience, sustainability, and inclusivity. It can help European industries and economy to adapt to the post-twin transition era, the longer-term view, and contributes to a long-term sustainable competitiveness of EU industry. Here we see a number of items, a number of concepts that are closely related to this Industry 5.0 concept. The human centricity is there, the resilience, the sustainability, but there are also a number of other aspects that also come from some of the more actionable papers and actions and projects that we also run on Industry 5.0. So aspects are there: an inclusive and diversified workforce relating to this human centricity, workforce well-being, environmental strategy, financial resilience, which is the other part of the coin, compatibility, green procurement, supply chain flexibility, which very much features into the resilience aspect, etc. To come back to these three pillars of Industry 5.0, so the human centricity, the sustainability, and the resilience, those were also conceived in an era that was very much characterized by post-COVID. So the COVID era and the post-COVID era, there our contacts with industry very clearly indicated this increasing need for resilience of organizations. And although COVID is now to a large degree, let's say, behind us, or that challenge has been overcome, that need for resilience continues in the light of new geopolitical and other challenges that we're facing. The sustainability is, of course, self-evident. I mean, the need to fight climate change primarily, but also biodiversity, support biodiversity, and to make sure that in light of resource scarcity, especially here in Europe, we would continue to have a thriving industry that is sustainable, is key there. And then for the last part, the human centricity, that is everything to do with worker well-being. So that's sort of the obvious aspect of that. But there is also a very important industrial aspect to the human centricity, and that is that you can't really have an industry without humans. So the idea of the completely automated factory may be a possible reality for some cases, but it's really not for most of them. You really need people and the specific things that people bring on the shop floor and in industry in general. And that includes creativity, the possibility to adapt, the possibility to come up with new ideas, with improvements, etc. Those are really core human characteristics and capabilities. And by putting the humans central to industry, human-centric, you would actually make sure that you have a foundation of innovation capability, of making sure that the way your shop floor is working is in sync with what the humans on the shop floor, those with the most experience on working in a particular place, actually need. And this is also why the human-centric aspect covers technology development that goes hand in hand with the human worker. So the technology is there to do the best to support the human worker, make sure that it really can reach all of it, that the human worker can really reach all of his potential, rather than just injecting the technology down right to, in the end, actually replace the human worker. We don't think that that's the right perspective, and we also don't think that that is something that will help industry fight the labor shortages that they are facing. For many profiles, industry is facing a lot of problems actually recruiting the right people. And such a human-centric approach can really help industry be a more attractive recruiter in the end. So rather than representing a technological leap forward, Industry 5.0 nests the existing Industry 4.0 approach in a broader context and provides a holistic approach to twin transition-driven challenges. So this is also to highlight the difference with Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is not a paradigm that has ended yet. It's not something that is implemented yet. I don't know whether everybody in the audience is familiar with Industry 4.0. This is originally a German concept, and it basically boils down to integrating new, mostly digital technologies on the shop floor to have a very flexible, a very efficient and productive working environment. And although we support all of these goals, they're also very important for European competitiveness. We think that industry does not just need to take a technology and implement it, but that it needs to transform in a more holistic way, notably taking on board these three pillars of Industry 5.0 of human centricity, resilience, and sustainability, and making sure that the embedding of the technology in industry is done in a way that corresponds to those more holistic goals, that it actually can serve sustainability, that it can serve the industry's resilience, and that it is developed together with human workers, that it has this human-centric perspective. Where are we currently with Industry 5.0? So the concept itself is now about 4 or 5 years old. We originally published it in a concept paper from the Commission itself. Was then taken up in a number by a number of other think tanks and groups, and has lived its own life. And I'm very happy and proud to say that this is now a very much recognized concept in industrial circles and in research and innovation circles. So we are, as Industry 5.0, still an emerging framework, but we already have Industry 5.0 pioneers in the EU innovation ecosystem stakeholder community. We have a number of very important companies there as well. One of our favorite examples, also because we really love working with them, is Schneider Electric, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the 13th biggest company in Europe. And they are very much Industry 5.0 oriented, largely compliant actually to it, and are one of our biggest advocates as well. Third part of where we are now is our need to connect the dots and to bring evidence to support the scale up of Industry 5.0 and a larger scale implementation in industry in Europe. So we essentially have a network, and that's a growing network. It's a community of practice that we have, and I'll tell you more about it in a second, that is now comprised of close to 200 stakeholders, various stakeholders, so companies big and small. I mentioned Schneider Electric, they're part of it, but also a lot of SMEs, also RTOs, so research and technology organizations, academic stakeholders. So it's quite a diverse community, and that community is also working on these questions as to how can we scale up Industry 5.0 as a longer-term goal for European industry, and how can we also bring this concept to those companies and maybe also those regions where such an implementation is the most challenging, and then exactly what are those challenges and what can we do to help overcome them. So we had originally, because I'm running ahead a bit, but we had originally the conceptual phase for Industry 5.0, which was a bit 2021, 2022, where we came up with the concept, our original policy brief. It was taken up by ZIR, which is an internal think tank that we have here in the Commission, that also developed a policy brief. We had a roundtable on Industry 5.0 with very high-level industrial leaders who were very welcoming of the concept, and that also confirmed our idea that we were on the right track with this. Was particularly motivating and very nice for promoting the concept. And then during the 2022 RNI Days, which is our yearly event that we have on research and innovation here at the Commission, we presented the first Industry of the Future Award, which was awarded to a company that was the most in line with Industry 5.0 orientation, and it went to an SME that is recycling solar panels, which was also a very nice achievement. Next phase was from awareness raising to implementation. And there we had a number of actions. We had an ERA Industrial Technologies roadmap on human-centric enabling technologies and organizational innovations for industry. So this was just published at the start of summer this year. ERA stands for the European Research Area, which is a body composed of the European Union member states with a focus on research, and we have joint actions with them, joint actions with the member states for all sorts of initiatives relating to research and innovation. Part of those are also the ERA industrial technology roadmaps. And so we did one on human-centric enabled technologies. It's a really big report, very multifaceted, and it explores the use of ways to develop technologies in a human-centric way, and also ways in which technologies can be human-centric and can be supporting human workers, and then notably in industry. We increased some funding for Horizon Europe projects working on Industry 5.0. So we had a number of specific calls in Horizon Europe, which is our research framework program, on projects relating to Industry 5.0. And we continue to support the research on Industry 5.0 and its implementation also via those funding channels. We had an ERA action, so another European research area action on scaling up of Industry 5.0 announced, which was met with great interest from the member states. And that is destined to be part of the ERA policy agenda of the new 2025-2027 running period of ERA actions. And then we established in November 2023, something I already mentioned, the Industry 5.0 community of practice, which has a lot of stakeholders in it, industrial companies, very varied. We started with a pilot phase of 100 stakeholders, exactly 100. The community of practice has recently, just before summer, been opened up to participation of more other stakeholders, and we're now already approaching close to 200 participants in the community of practice, so that's very successful and stimulating as well. We just had 2 weeks ago, we had the closing event of this pilot phase of the community of practice, which was an in-person event where we met many of the stakeholders. We did a lot of brainstorming as to the next steps and the challenges that we need to overcome. We had some very very interesting speakers. And so that was also a very nice momentum to celebrate this first phase of the community of practice, and then to plan for the next one. The Air Industrial Technologies roadmap, short slide here. So a bit what the objectives were and what it actually shows. It shows that industrial stakeholders can take a leading role in achieving human-centric outcomes in technology development and in adoption, such as improving worker safety, well-being, upskilling, learning, etc. So technologies can also be really used for that purpose. And the study also indicates that there are significant opportunities to capture the transformative potential of groundbreaking technologies like artificial intelligence and virtual worlds through more human-centric and user-driven design approaches. So there it's very important that when implementing these newer technologies, there are human-centric avenues to take. It's possible to do it with the human in mind. And the more that you do that, and this is also what we see on the shop floor, the better guarantee it has for being successful and for reaching the objectives that the technology is actually supposed to obtain and the results it's supposed to deliver. A number of examples of policy recommendations from the study. Broadening and upgrading of human-centric design concepts and practices are needed to include more purpose-driven and systemic design considerations. More active role of policymakers is also needed in advancing the development of technologies with human-centric approaches and promoting human-centricity at organizational level. So being convinced of the benefits is not enough. It really needs promotion at the organizational level. The organization, the industry itself has to be organized in such a way that it actually promotes this human-centric technology development. And anticipating the needed key skills for the future of manufacturing, facilitating knowledge exchange and dissemination between ecosystem enablers and actors is required. Facilitate open innovation and collaborative approaches between industry, research, education, social sectors, and I would also say the policy making level. Other policy recommendations: bring together diverse actors of different backgrounds to integrate expertise and knowledge for developing technologies that address the needs and challenges of diverse stakeholders, supporting technology foresight, integrating human centricity in certifications and standards for business to design and develop human-centric technologies and practices. So these were some of the findings that the study really put meat around those bones and made some recommendations as to how this could be taken further and promoted. Under Horizon Europe, here you see a number of examples of projects that we fund in diverse areas, technology and production design here in this case. One of the projects is DIY for You, open innovation digital platform and Fab Labs for collaborative design and production of personalized or customized DFMCGs. iProduce is a social manufacturing framework for streamlined multi-stakeholder open innovation missions in consumer goods sector. So also there in consumer goods, an emphasis on social manufacturing, looking there on how to apply those Industry 5.0 principles as well. And then Open Next, community collaboration for open source development of products and services. And this is just, a small grasp of projects that we fund that have this Industry 5.0 part to them, that have an objective that is related to Industry 5.0. But the scope is in the end much wider. Of course, we also fund a lot of industrial projects that do not necessarily or very explicitly refer to Industry 5.0 as such, but that also support a number of the pillars of what we're developing. And so our idea is to bring those together and to make sure that we have this holistic overview also within our project portfolio. There is a number of other examples of projects here pertaining to SME transformation in general, as a very general concept, I would say. There's Prospects 5.0, so also promoting the adoption of Industry 5.0 principles, notably also to SME startups and scale-ups, because this turns out to be a huge challenge, specifically for smaller companies, to basically find the resources, find the time, and find the knowledge as well to implement this Industry 5.0 vision. Larger companies may have less difficulty with it. Then Bridges 5.0, that wants to build workforce skills for Industry 5.0. Seismic, empowering skilled workforces with human-centric solutions, addressing challenges tied to advanced workplace technologies, fostering innovation, voila. AI Regio 5.0, implementing a competitive AI at the edge digital transformation of Industry 5.0 manufacturing for small and medium enterprises. So there's a particular AI at the edge focus, implementing that within an Industry 5.0 mindset and framework, and ensure 5.0, supporting European SMEs, advancing their digital transformation process while becoming more human-centric, sustainable, and resilient. COP 5.0, our community of practice, connecting the dots. So that's the main idea there, that rather than having a number of scattered initiatives, the community of practice would really come together and join all of these dots, join the different industries, join the different stakeholders across Europe to really bring together an analysis of the needs and challenges, and also to come up with solutions for deploying Industry 5.0 in the EU. The COP 5.0 brings together 150 plus, I said, approaching 200 by now, European innovation ecosystem stakeholders to share good practices, co-create actions to accelerate implementation of Industry 5.0, and provide a platform for members to network and establish new collaborations. It facilitates an opportunity for stakeholders to share ideas, to foster synergies, and to receive support in transforming traditional organizational models into more impactful ones. So you see a bit of the timeline there. We had 16th of October, as I mentioned, our plenary session in Brussels. And then starting in the period that will follow now, from now on, we will move to the fully fledged and open community of practice. So any stakeholder, any company is invited to apply if they have an interest in Industry 5.0, if they also want to be around the table on this, and through really quite a simple session procedure, they can become a part of the community of practice. The link is there. This is not very convenient for you to click on it, but it can easily be shared. And if you do a Google search on the European Commission Industry 5.0, for example, you will very quickly find this link on our webpage. Here you see an overview of how our community of practice is composed. And it's composed, as you can see, largely of SMEs on the one hand, then academic participants and universities on the other. There's only a small percentage of large companies, but of course, every one of those large companies counts for quite a big presence. Then we have public research organizations, we have private research organizations, we have national research organizations, regional and local organizations, CSOs, umbrella organizations, investors, and then others, stakeholders that we don't really find or that we are not comfortable with putting in one of those other categories. But you see, it's quite diverse. It's also a good basis for having a diversified community of practice to talk from different viewpoints and from different angles about the challenges presented by Industry 5.0, but also notably a majority from companies and research and innovation organizations that together really have the most practical knowledge and the closest operational knowledge of the actual challenges and needs involved. The deliverables of this first pilot that we've had of the Community of Practice 5.0 were twofold, in two large groups, I would rather say. The first deliverable was an in-depth analysis elaborating on Industry 5.0 as a transformative industrial research and innovation policy agenda, fostering place-based experimentation based on complexity approaches and system thinking. So there's a system thinking again, and the idea was to have an in-depth analysis ready that really elaborates this concept of Industry 5.0 as an operationalizable, transformative R&I policy. And the second deliverable was a prototype Industry 5.0 learning and assessment tool that is aimed at helping companies and organizations better understand and evaluate their Industry 5.0 performance based on the three Industry 5.0 pillars, so human centricity, resilience, and sustainability. More about that in the next slides, but the tool is something that helps you as an organization assess where you are with Industry 5.0, evaluate your own performance in a detailed enough yet simple enough way to be able to know, okay, where do we need to invest more? Which points do we really need to take care of to make sure that we move in that general direction of Industry 5.0? So for the policy agenda, we have developed we have worked around some topics and developed some recommendations. One is promoting responsible design practice and skills. There is prototyping and adopting new enterprise and production models. For the first one, responsible design practices and skills, we have looked into things like eco-design, bio-inspired design, human-centric design, of course, also with the roadmap study that I presented earlier. Resilience aspects, how do those come into play in these design aspects, practices and skills. And then for the prototyping and the new enterprise and production models, we looked into, with the community of practice, of course, into learning organizations, new type of business models, forms of industrial commons, open source digital fabrication, company, community collaborations, etc. So you see, it's quite a diverse set of existing concepts and tools that we are exploring to see how they are best applied in an Industry 5.0 context, and how those tools can basically help us in organizations implement Industry 5.0. Then another aspect is the scaling up of Industry 5.0 innovations into industrial ecosystems. So this is about uptake of Industry 5.0. And there we had discussions and insights on hubs 5.0. So basically Industry 5.0 hubs that could be place-based systemic innovation orchestrators. And this is a very important aspect that we're discovering, notably in the European context. The regional aspect and the place-based aspect is crucial also for the adoption of Industry 5.0. So there, it's about transformations towards learning organization and learning ecosystems, open social innovation, new business model, also existing business models that sometimes already go in the direction of 5.0 that can maybe also be applied to other companies than the ones already using them. Improve digital infrastructures as industry commons, dynamic capturing of industry intelligence for Industry 5.0 goals, and then demonstration of new incentives for paradigm change towards Industry 5.0 together with industry, academic partners, and policymakers. The second deliverable that I mentioned of our community of practice is the prototype, because it's still a prototype at this stage. It's being fully tested as well in order to go beyond the prototype stage. And this is this learning and assessment tool. Here demonstrated also at the company level. It encourages companies and organizations to check their performance and to also have a form of measurement for the three Industry 5.0 pillars at different stages of the production process. It inspires organizations, and in particular startups, to design impact-driven organizational models that are aligned with green, digital, and social transformation. They provide an overview of companies' impact-driven performance for policymakers and investors. And here on the right-hand side, you can see this visual representation of the application of learning and assessment tool for a specific organization, for a specific company, where you can also see the three pillars. And it has the form, as you can see, of a tree. So the tree represents the vertical separation between inputs, processes, and outcomes. So the tool measures on those three fronts, and it then conversely on the horizontal plane, the three Industry 5.0 pillars: human centricity, sustainability, and resilience. And by doing that on a number of points, you can end up with a graph like this that actually shows your performance. And the interesting thing is that that performance can also be used as a way to, I would say, detect or make sure that what you're trying to implement is not just greenwashing, is not just something that has a green tint to it, but that actually corresponds to significant contributions to the sustainability aspect in this case, but just as well to the human-centric and resilient parts. Here it's a bit more explained, as I just told you. So the tool has two parts, has a qualitative learning part and a visual assessment part. The qualitative part zooms in on the individual pillars and their key dimensions. It's structured in a matrix in practice when you fill out the tool, combining the three Industry 5.0 pillars with individual phases of the production process. And in the system of color-coded standardized answers to the customized questions in the qualitative part allows transformation of the answers into this visual regenerative tree, which is the visual that I already explained to you. Here you actually see the outcome of the text exercise with two different companies. They are both aligned as regards corporate social responsibility. So they have, let's say, outward facing. They have the same goals and the same image building, let's say, also going on with regards to corporate social responsibility. Nonetheless, you can clearly see that company B is in practice, actually, when you go and measure finer with the tool, much closer to the Industry 5.0 objectives at the different parts of the production process and as per inputs and outputs than company A actually is, whereas they have the same objectives, and they also pretend to be both at the same level of corporate social responsibility. That's not to say that a company is pretending something to be that it's not. It's to say that it's very it's quite challenging, and it needs some standardization to really assess the full alignment with Industry 5.0 objectives. And this is exactly what we need this tool for. This is exactly what companies can really use to say, okay, we want to go there, but how well are we doing, and which area should we be improving on to actually get there? And that's the aim of the tool. Now, I'm ready to wrap up, because I think I've taken enough of your time. This is a bit of what we are looking to do from now into the future, so Industry 5.0 beyond 2024. We will have a new commission that will come in very soon, normally early December, and so the commission will run from 2024 to 2029. It comes with new political priorities, and part of those is a new plan for Europe's sustainable prosperity and competitiveness. So in that context, we will also be looking at rolling out Industry 5.0 to a broader scale, and also internally in the Commission work with several other directorates generals and services to see how we can best harmonize and integrate this in existing or in new policy instruments. Then there's the European Research Area Policy Agenda 2025-2027, where I have this proposed action for accelerating research and innovation investments for Europe's industrial transformation and competitive sustainability. So scaling up Industry 5.0. It has met the member states have met this with great enthusiasm. So we are very hopeful that this action will go through. We will, of course, continue the great results of the community of practice so far, enlarge the community of practice, and then also based on the most recent feedback from the community of practice, develop a roadmap with them to see how can we best take this forward, how do we take Industry 5.0, but also community of practice in its own right forward. And I would like to invite you again, those of you interested in those working in organizations that have an interest in this, please do sign up for the community of practice. It's a great investment for the future, I would say. And then we will be implementing Industry 5.0 related actions from the Horizon Europe Strategic Plan 2025-2027. So the strategic plan is actually the big picture strategy for the second part of Horizon Europe, so which runs from 2025 to 2027. And we will be implementing in the different work programs. We'll have a work program in 2025 and then work programs in 2026-27. A number of actions on Industry 5.0, of course, budget and member state approval, etc., pending. And the most likely place for those will be Cluster 4, which is part of the Horizon Europe framework, which deals with digital industry and space. So I thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was interesting for you. I hope you will take some of this home with you. And I hope it's clear that this is sort of the longer term perspective. It's not something that you implement next week and then it's done. It's sort of our long-term perspective for European industry, where we think it needs to go. We see this confirmed by a lot of stakeholders all of the time. And then making sure that we're actually ready for that, and that we develop the right tools, that each organization also has the right tools in place to make sure that we progress in that direction. I thank you very much.